once said, dreams are not those that we see when we are asleep. Dreams are those which do not let us sleep. I'm sure all of you have big dreams and are working hard to realize them to strive. Gitanjali Express here has furthermore started this initiative to become a catalyst in your pursuit of excellence. Our children who have achieved outstanding results in their 10th and 12th board exams are here today to help us with their ideas to solve our queries and help us realize our dreams. I welcome them and you all to this marvelous session of learning. Remember, education is the most powerful tool which can shape our future and hence the future of the world. I warmly welcome you all here and wish the very best to everyone.
Wow.
Thank you, Mamtaji, for this introduction. Again, before we begin introducing our mentors, I would request the audience again to put in the questions in the chat box for the mentors to answer whatever questions you have. You please put them in the chat box. Okay, so I'll start with our first mentor, Rishi Saraf, who is the son of Devender and Poonam Saraf. Rishi secured 97.6% in ICSE board exam this year and was the subject topper in science, securing full marks. He is currently preparing for the IIT JEE exams. He likes playing guitar and swimming. He aspires to get into astrophysics, wow, and has a deep interest in coding, especially in the domain of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So welcome, Rishi, to our program.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, our next star is Anusha. Anusha is the daughter of Dhanpat and Anju Nahata, sorry. She secured an All India rank 3 in ISC 2022 with 99.25% marks. She is currently studying BBA in NMIMS. She secured 97% in ICSE 2 years back, and she studied from Cathedral and John Cannon School. Anusha is an avid dog lover. She also enjoys immersing herself in books and music of various types. She also loves contributing to social causes and tries to volunteer wherever possible. Welcome, Anusha. Can you acknowledge?
Hi, thank you for the warm introduction.
Yeah, thanks. Next star is Shagun Goel. Shagun is the daughter of Amit and Seema Goel. Shagun scored 99%. I don't know, 2-3 marks. 99% in ensured All India 5th in ICSE exam 22. Regarding Shagun, it's a special achievement because she just moved in from Hong Kong, where she studied for 4 years, where the academic environment was much more relaxed and it was totally different. And she had to adjust a lot in India. And when she joined school 2 years back, she used to apparently come home crying, not understanding what is being taught and what others would probably think to be very basic. And then there was pandemic to exacerbate her learning challenges. But with the support of parents, teachers, and her younger sister, she was able to cope up and make the progress. She is able to adapt, being independent, manage pressures, balance study with her interests. Her interests are in playing guitar, exercise, and meditation, and she is a hardworking. Both parents of Shagun, Amit and Seema, are chartered accountants, and they are co-founders of a edutech startup, Classbug. So welcome, Shagun, to our show.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So I'll start my questions. I have one round of questions and probably will then start taking up the audience questions. So Rishi, this one is for you. So
Yes.
what was your schedule and plan for studies before the boards? So how did you
So,
plan?
like the schedule was pretty simple. I'd go for running in the morning, and while I came back, I'll plan my schedule for the day. So I'll do that in Google Calendar, which I'd like to mention is a very good tool for planning your schedule, because you get to fill slots and you get to visualize your whole day. So Google Calendar is pretty useful, and I'll advise every student to use it to plan their day. Then I'll basically plan my day in such a way that I cover 2 or 3 subjects in a day, and at the end of the day, I'll revise whatever I have studied and the things I've studied before. And also, I'd inculcate some time in my day to practice problems, because that is essentially what we have to do in the boards. So that is all I do in my day in a gist.
Okay. Yeah, Anusha, you scored practically all the marks except for probably 2, 3 of them in your boards. So what was your secret sauce?
There's, I don't think there's any secret or such, but I was very consistent in like paying attention in class because I think that was the most important factor. Because if I paid attention in class, I took the notes, then I considered that half my work was done. And before the exams, I would just solve past papers and just read. I would never try to mug up the content because I don't think that worked. If I had tried that before and it didn't work, so I started understanding what the teacher was saying and solving past papers. That's all I did.
Okay. Yeah, Shagun, same for you, means you got all the marks, right? A couple of marks maybe would have gone by the teacher's correction or something. Otherwise, you got all the marks. So, what was your approach for preparation before the exams?
I paid attention to the books that were given by ICSE because we know that all the questions come from there. There's obviously different types of books that are released before the exams, like OSVALs and all, and students tend to focus on those. But at the end of the day, we know that the people who are setting the paper will take the questions from Selena publications or Concise, which is being given to us by ICSE. So I was thorough with the syllabus that we were given. Plus, I solved a lot of papers, past year papers, prelim papers, even from different schools. And my approach towards my prelim exams was awesome because during COVID, there was no surety that we'll even have our board exams. So I used to focus on my prelims a lot, and that's what helped me a lot before my exam.
Okay. So there's a request from us. You are requested to please put on your video so that it becomes much more interactive and we also get to know who's there. Again, coming back to Anusha, like how do you control TV, mobile? I mean, you scored very high marks in class 10, then you scored very high marks in class 12. And then there's, you have to deal with the social functions, social programs in the family. As it is, means we are very active as a community. So how do you deal with all such pressures?
So for phone, I know I made it a rule that if I'm studying, if I've taken out 2, 3 hours for studying, my phone is not going to be with me. It's going to be in another room so that I don't stray away from the topic that I'm currently studying. And as for TV, I don't really watch TV anymore. I mean, I gradually lost interest by the time I came. By the time I came to 10th, I kind of lost interest in TV. But at the same time, you keep a schedule. Like especially while studying, if I said that I'm going to study from 2 to 3, after that, yeah, I can use my phone. I can watch a little bit of TV as a break. And as for the social functions, I never left everything for the last minute. Like throughout the year, if I was consistent with my work, I could take out time for the other social aspects.
Okay. Yeah, Shagun, same question for you.
Yes, sir. I was not truly like disciplined in terms of social media and all. I don't have any platforms like Instagram and stuff, but I still continued watching movies like on Netflix and stuff. But my parents were very supportive because in like many households, parents and elderly, they watch serials on TV. We don't have TV, we just have like Netflix. So my parents didn't watch anything, so I wasn't distracted in that way. Even my sister, she stopped watching stuff like during my exams, so I was not distracted in that way. And during my exams, I totally stopped talking to my friends because you might think I will talk only for a few hours and then I will not get, but that does not work. You need to completely shut it down. So I blocked WhatsApp and everything that would help me communicate with them.
Okay. Yeah, Shagun. I think means we met one of our members whose children are both into IIT. So they had said the same thing, Anup Agarwal. So they had said the same thing that they've not seen TV program in the house for years together. Right. Anshul, you have any questions have come in the chat box?
Yeah, there are a few questions on the chat box. I'll start with Shikhar. Shikhar, if you are comfortable asking yourself in the camera, please come forward and ask. Else, I will ask a question. I'm not sure if Shikhar could hear me, but he has asked a very pertinent question that, okay, you may have spent a lot of time studying, but how do you remember everything that you study? I think Rishi mentioned that I am thorough with my syllabus, or someone mentioned about the syllabus, but you have to plan it. All said and done, how do you remember? Because at the end of the day, the examination is to an extent also a test of the memory of your memory, at least at in school level. So if one of you can answer, Anusha, Shagun, Rishi, how you guys ensure that you are able to remember what you have studied? Is it revision, multiple revision, or is it natural memory power, or is something else that you apply your day to day?
Yeah, Rishi, I think you start first. Otherwise,
Thank you. So like I have a couple of points here. First is a repetitive revision. Like the revision should be distributed in a way such that it is done strategically. For example, you study a topic, then you should like revise in the next 6 hours the topic, like just on the surface level. Then after 12 hours, you should 12 hours, like 1 day or so, you should do that once again. Then like a week and so on. Like it should be distributed. It shouldn't be like you revise it after a day and then you revise it after a month. It shouldn't be like that. It should be pretty uniform. And the second thing is you should write, like whatever you remember, you should just write it down by yourself. It really helps to remember retain it for a really long time. So that is all you can do to remember all the things you're learning, essentially.
Shagun, same. You have something different to offer?
I feel like if you take interest in the thing that you're learning, you will remember it better. Because suppose you're learning a topic in bio and you're just rectifying everything you're learning, obviously you won't remember on the day of the exam. But if you watch videos online, if you research more on that topic and you yourself like what you're studying, then I think you'll remember that for longer.
Okay. Anusha?
So the first thing I would say is don't try to mug it up. Don't read, then cover, and then try to say it. I don't think that works. I would say make your own notes, make personalized notes, read multiple times before the exam. And especially one day before, don't try to cramp up everything. Just solve past papers. Just by solving the past papers and reading your chapters, I think you're set. I don't think you should mug it up as such.
Okay.
So the key takeaways is that you should read with interest. If you read without interest, is something you will not be able to remember. You should write more often, and as Anusha said, that make your own notes so that next time when you revise, it becomes easy. And I can vouch from my own experience because I used to write my own notes and perhaps scribble on my books itself, to the anger of my parents and teachers. But I think that had helped. But the most important thing is that we should take interest in what you are reading, because if you don't take interest, then it becomes a burden in terms of memory. But if you are interested in something, then of course it then becomes fun. But at the same time, there are certain subjects which may not be interesting to someone. And it's Jen, for example, asked that Hindi and English, subjects like Hindi and English, which are less logical, and perhaps students tend to lose sight and prepare for these subjects, and they also lose marks. And on the contrary, there are students who actually gain a lot of marks in these subjects because they find it easy. So to an extent, it boils down to their interest. But how do you ensure that some of these subjects like Hindi and English, जहाँ पर teacher भी ज़्यादा focus नहीं कर रहे हैं, then how do we ensure that we don't end up losing our marks? Any insights? How have you fared well in the language subject Hindi and English, and any insights if you can share?
Yeah.
How do you
Anusha,
keep it interesting? Yeah.
Yeah, Anusha, I think that's a pertinent question. That how do you tackle your difficult or your weak subjects?
I give them enough time. If I know that it's a subject that I'm not very strong in, I start preparing for it like long before I start preparing for the others. And for Hindi and English in particular, for literature aspect, I used to take down notes in the textbook itself, right next to the text. And for language, I would I would have to, if it's a Hindi language, then I have to mug up like Vilom, Ferayavachi. I have to do that. But at the same time, practice writing essays and reading comprehensions. And again, you can always go to YouTube for help. I think I watched a lot of YouTube videos for Hindi and English.
Okay, Shagun.
Yeah, I think in Hindi, stuff like Paravachi and Vilom, they are like short questions which you know they will come. It's like they will fetch you easy marks because once you remember them, it's like your 3 marks, 4 marks are guaranteed. That helps. And then for English language, writing essays and all, you can read essays and you can read stories. So then when a topic comes in the exam, you can sort of take an essay and combine few different essays. So it's not like you don't have to formulate something on your own necessarily at the spot under stress, but you can use another idea and make it your own and write it in the essay. So that's a good idea.
Okay, I think Shagun, the topic also was, do you have any subject, difficult or weak subject other than, let's say, Hindi, English? If yes, while you need not take the name of the subject, how do you tackle it?
I found physics quite difficult, the numericals. I always used to get very scared from the numericals, the numbers, big numbers, all that stuff. And I thought I was just not good at physics. Like there was no way I could probably do well at physics. I'm just not a physics kind of person. But then I realized the people in my class who are scoring, it's not like they are professional physics people either. Even they have practiced and then gotten to this point where they can solve the sums. So I talked to them and I asked them, what are you doing? And they told me that I solve these sums, I practice, and then I asked my teacher doubts on the parts which were my weak parts, and then I improved in those.
Interesting, because Rishi wants to be an astrophysicist. So, Rishi, how do you tackle your difficult subject? Because certainly physics is not one of them.
Yeah, definitely. So what I do is I just take down notes. I analyze the past papers and predict what sort of questions might come in the exams, and based on that I prepare. Because if I prepare my weak subjects in a very general way and not in a very particular way, then I might mess things up. That's why I just analyze the past papers first and predict what sort of questions might come. That is something I do for my weak subjects.
Anshul.
Interesting. Is there any further questions? I mean, people are either hesitant or thinking what to ask, but feel free. Else, I or Sanjay will continue to ask our questions and try to relive our own student days. But feel free, including parents for that matter, if someone wants to ask. But one thing that keeps I find very interesting and intriguing to understand is the use of social media, because at least during my time, which is 10, 12 years back when I was a student, and before that, we didn't have phones at least till class 10, 11, 12. It was only after 12 that I got my first phone. So we have not studied in an era where we were used to using phones, even for making a call, forget about using social media. And I recall Rishi mentioned about use of Google Calendar. Very interesting. Till today, a lot of us in offices also are hesitant to use digital technologies. So we have come a long way. I would urge you to throw some more light. How do you optimize your social media and phone usage? Because we all agree that it is a distraction. At the end of the day, no exam is going to test your use of phone and your capability on use of tech or social media, but it's an enabler. How do you optimize to use it to enable your study at the same time without taking away your time from core study? Rishi, you can start first, and Anusha, Shagun, if you have anything to add, please feel free. Because this is something that a lot of parents who are joining today will be able to relate, and I'm sure वो अपने बच्चों को बोलते हैं phone से दूर रहो, but is there any takeaway from using phone?
So like if the self-control is the key in it, and if self-control is something which is not being done properly, then account ही delete कर दो, because then that will automatically create some sort of self-control. Like I remember in 10th till 10th I was on Instagram like till 9th standard. Then I deleted my account because I realized I was getting addicted to it. The first few days were like really difficult for me, but then I got used to it, and I still like my dad made me do that, and I still thank my dad for making me delete my account, because I would have gotten addicted to it and I would have thrown my future away. So deleting an account, if in case of less self-control, is a big step to take, which can be difficult at first, but it really helps.
Right. I think Anusha mentioned that you used, Anusha, Shagun, you used a lot of YouTubes for studying. But the challenge in YouTube is when you are seeing a program, seeing a particular subject, suddenly another thing pops up. Then how do you control yourself? Because I mean, there are 3, 4 subjects you have to study, and the fourth subject comes up or something else comes up. Then how do you stay on course and remove that distraction away? Shagun, can you? Yeah, Anusha, yeah. Start.
Oh, Shagun can go ahead.
I myself don't really know how to do that because I myself made that mistake. I used to get distracted. So self-discipline is key, and that doesn't happen most of the time. So I had this app which I had downloaded, which would block certain websites and certain videos, which were like entertaining for me. So that helped me. So I couldn't open the videos that I wanted to watch, like YouTube videos. I couldn't watch those except for educational ones. And I also use Excel sheet for making my timetable. So I utilized my computer for that. And I had deleted Instagram. My father made me delete Instagram. And in the start, I felt like my life would be over if Instagram was gone because I felt like, how will I talk to my friends? I'll become like boring. It's like, how do I communicate? But then over time, you realize that they were right in telling you to not do so because you will get addicted eventually in the future.
Right, Anusha?
I would say my experience is different. I never deleted Instagram. I did not stop talking to my friends, nor did I restrict myself. I think the biggest factor in this was that you have to be focused on what you're doing on a certain task. You have to have that self-control. As Rishi said, self-control is very important. And as for YouTube, if I decided that I'm only going to do 1 or 2 subjects in that day, I cannot stray away from that. I have to stick to that. And if I do, then I'm going to compensate for it later. And as for the phone usage, again, I had said that before that when you're studying, keep your phone away. So you won't get distracted. And yeah, that's what I did.
I think the most important takeaway from all the 3 stars is self-control. That's the key. And who has more self-control is ultimately your own call, because sometimes it's wise to delete and not access those stuffs which are not useful in your education days. And sometimes if you are using for education, like Shakun uses for YouTube and all, then perhaps you have to exercise much stronger self-control. But most of us actually find it very difficult. I started using WhatsApp after becoming CA, and till date I have not been able to exercise self-control in limiting my use. It is only increasing day by day to the even to the extent of taking up a lot of significant productive time of mine. But one thing is that, okay, you exercise self-control. Sometimes your parents guide you, and because they also know you sometimes better than you, that whether you'll be able to do it or not. And at times, perhaps there are third persons who will be able to guide you. And that third person, what we call mentor in our professional circle, is it could be identified mentor or could be multiple people. But one question from Ram Prakash in that similar line is, besides parents who have an active supervision on your conduct and studies, is there any mentor that you have taken support to? It could be among your friends, among your elders, family members, your teacher. Is there any mentor that you have reached out to for any help, any guidance for study or otherwise? Any of you, if you have anything to add, please feel. And then I move to the next question.
I feel like in my case, I have elder cousins who have already past 10th, and I took help from them. If I had any doubts, I would ask them. If I was feeling stressed, I would talk to them. That lessened my worry. And even my friends, I feel like if I'm using WhatsApp, to use WhatsApp and to talk to someone, there has to be someone you have to talk to. If that other person is also not communicating and not coming online, it makes it easier for you to stop talking. So me and my friends made this pact that we would not talk or use WhatsApp for like 2 weeks, and then slowly it becomes a habit, and then you yourself start realizing that it's not needed.
Very interesting. Anusha, Rishi, you want to add something on that, on your mentor, or shall we move to the next question?
Yeah, so I had this friend, and me and him had this healthy competition, and we would discuss like, I have done this much, and you have done this much, and we would often mock each other that you have not completed this, and I'm so ahead of you. But that only led to a sense of healthy competition, which basically pushed both of us ahead in the end. So if that was like one of the biggest things which helped me achieve a good marks, healthy competition.
I think during student, it's very important that you have a right set of friends in and around you, because there is enough supervision from your teachers and parents. But as both of you mentioned, that your friends have helped and you guys have helped each other is a very strong takeaway, because at the end of the day, a friend can influence another friend to study or to not, and we all have gone through that. And that is one reason why people also do group study. But we also discuss with friends a lot of other things, like our future plan and what to do after study, which could be taking a vacation, and what to pursue after class 10 and 12. And in that same line, there's a question from Shaurya. I don't know if it's applicable to all three of you, because I mean, you are in 10 and 12. Have you decided, and how have you decided about the field that you want to pursue after 10? Or did you come to a conclusion following a certain logical process after discussing with someone, your friends and parents? How did you take that decision?
Yeah, Anshul, I think it's very coincidental that all the three stars we have totally different lines. So one of them is studying for
Yes.
NEET, the other is studying for JEE, and the third is studying for administration.
Okay. So I think we must all hear all three's version in this question. That how did you choose your next course of action? We know the future is very long, and we don't know where our journey will eventually end. But as of now, who and how helped you to decide your next course of action? Please, Shakun, you want to start?
Yeah. I feel like in my case, I already knew that I did not have any interest in commerce. So it was clear for me that I wanted to take science. But then after that, it was very difficult to choose which field, because science is so vast. So it's very, very hard to choose I mean, there is a thing that you have an interest in something, but I had an interest in bio. That doesn't just mean that I will go do something related to bio. I had to do more research. And I think I would not recommend taking and talking to coaching people who are at coaching centers, because they are very coaching oriented. You go to the coaching center, they'll be like, which subject did you get more marks in, maths or bio? I'll be like bio, and they're like, okay, then take NEET. Like, that's not how it works. You have to have an interest in something in order to pursue it, because at the end of the day, if you like something, you will excel at that. So I talked to doctors in my society. I took help from seniors who are already pursuing that. I watched videos. I watched videos about doctors and how their daily routine goes about, and I wanted to know if I can see myself doing this in the future. And I talked to my seniors and my parents and all the people who are in that field. And then I got to know that this is something which I would want to pursue. So I took up.
Very interesting, Shagun, and very brave of you to be able to, make use of your network and access to the right people. Some of the students may not have access to right set of people to talk to, but if you have, you must always make an outreach. And even if you don't have, with whatever limited people that we know, we should try and attempt to make an outreach, speak to the right people. And one of the objective of creating this mentorship program for Gitanjali Kids is to create that network, where if someone wants to speak to a certain professional to understand what it takes to be that professionals, we will try our best to help you make a right outreach. Thanks, Shagun. Anusha, you want to add
Yeah.
what helped you?
So after 10th, I knew that I had an interest in psychology and I wanted to know more about the subject. So I essentially, during ISC, I was a humanities kid with math. And after 12th, I switched over to business. So this basically happened because I did a few online courses during 11th and 12th. So they helped me decide what I want to do. So for example, I did a course on entrepreneurship. I did a course on marketing. And that's how I realized that I can pursue BBA, because first of all, BBA you keep all your options open because you're doing a general subject, right? So I'm pursuing that right now. And later I can specialize in marketing or finance or whatever I'm interested in. So I think doing online courses helped me decide what I want to do.
Okay, so from talking to right set of people to doing right to accessing right information, let me put it that way, it could be online course or in some other form, are the ways which helps you. And interestingly, in both the cases, parents have at least not influenced the decision making. And to my surprise, when Shagun said I'm not interested in commerce, and I was recalling both the parents are actually chartered accountants, and a lot of participants in this group are actually chartered accountants, being Gitanjali members. But Rishi, your story, how did you choose your next?
So like since I was a kid, I was always fascinated by space, and I was like, "हाँ मुझे तो scientist ही बनना है." फिर like when I got into 9th and 10th, I started studying the physics, which was like really vague. Like it was like we are teaching you half of the things, and half of the things are to be continued in 12th standard or 11th standard. So like I felt like I need answers to them. They can't just leave us in the middle. So it intrigued me, and I started doing some research about how do planets move and how gravitation works and all. So that is how I got an interest into astrophysics and
Nice.
orbital mechanics specifically.
So basically, your deep sense of curiosity drove you to keep on asking questions and seek right answers. And of course, those answers, some of the answers to our questions lie beyond our ecosystem, and space could be that
Very nice.
place where we'll find answers. Humanity is looking for a lot of answers from the spatial ecosystem. And given the fact that India's ISRO is making so much strides, Rishi, I can tell you that by the time you turn out to be an astrophysicist, you will have a great career with ISRO perhaps, and make great name for the country and Gitanjali family. Okay, I'll step back a little because you know, a lot of students who constantly have examination, and we are not necessarily talking about 10th and 12th examination, but there are multiple examinations during the year, and including the ultimate examination, which is the board exam. It's but natural that we all face nervousness. I mean, for that matter, when I am moderating this session, taking Q&A, I also faced a kind of nervousness, and it is very natural. How do you handle nervousness? A lot of people, I remember my teacher used to suggest, just be confident. If you have prepared well, then perhaps nervousness will not creep in, and take an orange juice and perhaps a chocolate. But anything to add? How have you handled your nervousness before the exam? Do you feel, first of all, and if yes, what do you do to prepare for it? And during the exam, how do you handle it? Rishi, if you want to start, and then perhaps I'll go to the other.
I just drank water. I mean, this sounds really silly, but I drank water and talked to my parents I shared my nervousness with my parents, and they said, don't worry about it, sab theek ho jayega, and they consoled me. So by the time I went to the examination hall, I was really calm about it. And
Rishi, actually on this, I can tell you sounded much like a mature adult, because we have realized over a period of time that perhaps water is the best beverage to be an answer to a lot of problems that we have, not coffee, tea and others. But okay, good to hear that. Shagun, water or with some additives to the water?
For me, the main thing was my parents. Whenever I used to get nervous, I used to sit down with my parents. This used to happen every alternate day. I used to just sit down with them, and then I used to cry. I used to say whatever I want to say, then they would comfort me. So they were like my biggest support system. And in the night after I used to study, I used to go on long drives with them. So that would also help. And I really, really like listening to music. So music helped me a lot. And I used to exercise, because I feel like being a bio student, exercise releases serotonin that just makes you happy biologically and scientifically. So that also helped me a lot. And during the exams, before I used to, like on the way from home to the exam, I used to listen to music even in the car. That also helped me a lot. And I viewed it as a challenge, not like a thing which would be like the start of my life or the end of my life. Some students feel like board exams are just, if you don't do well at them, your life is over. Nothing like that. I just viewed it as a challenge, and I wanted to do well.
I mean, it's important what Shagun said, that the role of parent here is also very important, because parents have to be approachable enough where the kids feel comfortable to speak their hearts out, and sometimes just listening to them and the kids being open to cry in front of them is a great reliever. I can tell you, I used to cry in front of my father, and especially on critical occasions, especially after my class 10th examinations I did. So their role of parent becomes very important, and crying is not a sign of strength. It's an act of relieving and perhaps a solution to the nervousness that we face. Nice answer. Shagun. Anusha, do you feel nervous?
I
You are not
used
nervous
to.
here in this video at all, but during exams,
I actually used to be very, very nervous. Like I remember in 9th or 10th, even though I knew all my work, I had studied, I had prepared, I would still cry the night before. And of course, again, parents really helped with that. Like my mom once took me down for a walk or maybe for some ice cream. And slowly over time, I've seen it with my friends too. Like some of them, they will be ready to puke before the exam. Like they are that nervous, even though they know their work. So slowly over time, I realized that first of all, while going for your paper, just relax and talk to your friends. I think that is very important. When you discuss with others about questions that you may not have answers for, or your doubts, that really helps. And taking deep breaths, like especially right before the paper, you close your eyes, just take a few deep breaths, and tell yourself that you have done everything that you could in the given time. And now just give it a all and face the consequences later. You can't do anything to change about it now, can you? So just write your paper.
there are no negative consequences to preparation. You always get better. But I'm so glad to see all three of you after undergoing pangs of nervousness. You all three have come out to be extremely confident students. I can tell you at your age to be able to take this session. But yes, as Anusha said, that be communicative. चाहे parents के साथ बात करो जैसे Shagun used to do it, or you speak to your friends, but be communicative. Don't silo yourself into a corner and let nervousness and that tension creep in. Good answers, all three. There are questions are flowing in. I may not be able to take all questions, while we'll try our best, and perhaps for the next set of questions, we'll ask one or two of the three stars to answer instead of all three. But one question is the most asked question by a student. Ria is asking, how many hours do you study in a day? Perhaps there's no straight answer. I have seen students who claim that they don't study and exam mein jaake they still score well somehow. And there are students who take study to be top priority and spends considerable amount of hours, sometimes unimaginable. But what do you think is an optimal time to study every day? And given the size of syllabus constantly increasing, how do you ensure that you have utilized your time to complete the syllabus? Kabhi-kabhi kya hota hai, you get interested in a certain subject and you are constantly reading about that subject 3-4 times and at the cost of some other subject, and then you later realize, okay, I've missed that syllabus. How do you maintain that balance? कि आप कितना पढ़ना है and how do you complete the syllabus? I leave the hall open. Any one of you who wants to answer this question, how you have managed your time?
For me, I made a timetable. So from beforehand, I had noted all the chapters, which day, which chapter to do. So it was not like I missed on a chapter because of something else. I took up 2 subjects per day because doing one is it's like stretching on one subject and you don't remember a lot. So I took 2 subjects per day and I studied like max, like 4 hours. It was not based on time ki after 4 hours I won't stop studying. It was that I will complete 2 chapters today, no matter how much time that takes. And that depends on the person. If one person can study for 10 hours and get the same marks as someone who has studied just for 2 hours, because it depends on how you study and the focus that you have in that minimal time. That's what will get you your marks.
I think to the students listening to this, that doesn't mean that everyone should claim that they can complete the syllabus by studying only 2 hours. I think the takeaway is you perhaps know yourself the best. There are certain chapters, there are certain sections which you have understood very fast, and there are certain more difficult lessons, and for which you may have to put in more hours. So you are the best judge, but stick to your plan. Maintaining a plan, as Shagun used to do it, that she would have a plan and then she would ensure that she has completed as per her plan. So agar aap plan nahi kare to kahin na kahin you will not be able to gauge the entire syllabus. So it's important that you make a plan and then stick to your plan. That plan could be 2 hours dedicated to a chapter. That plan could be, let's say, 16 hours dedicated to completing certain sections during the day and during the week. and keep talking to your friends and parents and other family members for sure. There's one question, how do you get question paper for class 10th from various schools? Okay, so we know that every school have their own internal preparatory mechanism, some internal exams before as a preparation to the final board exams, and there'll be different types of question. And I'm sure all teachers of those schools would be selecting the question to the best interest of preparing the students. Did you ever try to get what other schools are teaching? What questions have come into their examinations? Did it bother to you? And if yes, did it help you? And if yes, then how did you obtain that? Because a lot of, let's say if I am studying in an X school, jahan par ho sakta hai the preparation mechanism is not very stringent, how do I take questions from Y school where I may not know someone or I may not have a friend? Did any of you did that exercise?
So in my case, most of the times our school teachers would get question papers of other schools. They used to exchange and then they used to give it to us, or a tuition teacher, a friend. And if not that, then Google. Like I've gone on Google and found other schools' question papers, and all of them are available. You can always Google it.
I think you said it very well. Teachers will anyway have access. A lot of teachers who also run coaching classes will have access to students from different schools, and it is their job to perhaps frame the complete comprehensive set of questions. So it's important that we reach out to our teachers, and एक teacher के पास एक दूसरे के पास जाओ, and also perhaps reach out to other students.
About this.
Yes, please have a question, please.
This is not a question, but I was speaking about this question paper thing. I was wondering whether we could, like all the people who are in 10th grade right now, like me, we could start a small WhatsApp group or something like Gitanjali Kids. There's a Gitanjali for women right, as well now, like something for Gitanjali grade 10 kids where all of the students present in the group can share their preliminary, like pre-board papers, their papers for others to view and solve, perhaps. I guess that would be a great way to.
Yeah, no, so there's a good suggestion. We'll definitely deliberate on this and see if we can start a WhatsApp group for the kids, for them to interact in a better manner to help each other. Yeah.
There might be many students, like many people in this meeting as well, who are in grade 10 right now, ICSE or CBSE, either is fine. But yeah, so if possible, I can start post the link for a group, then people can join. You can coordinate.
Yeah, nice. Does anyone have any other questions? Does parent have anything to ask? I must invite addressing to any of the stars here.
Anshul, before that, I had another question. So
yes.
So while doing your exams, how do you make your strategy? Do you answer the easy questions first or the difficult questions? How much time do you keep for reading the question paper? How much time? How do you time each of the questions so that you can complete the paper? How much time do you keep for revising? What is the strategy for your exam? Anusha, can you start that?
Yes. So for my papers, during reading time, I would identify which questions I can answer and which questions may take some time. So I answer all the ones that I know first, that I'm sure of, and then I can spend my time working on those which I'm not sure of. And I would always leave at least 10-15 minutes for a revision.
Shagun, what's your answer?
Same. Whichever one questions I was sure about, I used to write them first, and whichever ones I was doubtful about, I would put a star next to them, and then I used to come back. And during the reading time, I used to go through the entire paper and solve everything in my mind. So it was like I've solved the entire paper. Now I just have to write it during the writing time. And I used to keep half an hour buffer for revising and rereading my questions.
Okay. Yeah, Anshul.
Yeah, revision is very important. It's very clearly coming out from everyone that no matter what you study and prepare, if you're not revised, then aap bhul jaoge. So revision is important. I think one to that question of papers of other school, Prakash Bogi has given interesting suggestion. There's an app perhaps called Test Papers app. People can take a note and which does give all past
Yes.
papers and perhaps all other school papers. So it will
Yes,
be good use.
yes,
to
there is
have.
all past papers there. Even school prelims are there. So kids can solve all those papers. Solution is also there. So it is very useful app. You can go ahead with it. It has all subjects like science, English.
Coming straight away from a parent, so this should be taken seriously. It's good app. I never
Yes,
knew that
because
something like this exists, but
I used to do from there only all the question papers and all.
interesting. Have I missed any questions from the chat box? Is there someone who has actually put question, but I or Sanjay ji have missed? Feel free. We can take maybe 2 more minutes to take any new questions, or else I'll ask Sanjay ji to close the session with a parting thought. Sanjay ji, we'll wait for a minute just in case any question comes. But Anusha, Shagun, and yeah, sorry.
Anshul, I had one more question. So
Yes, please, sir.
So how do you prepare? Like you have prelims in the school, whereas you have a board exam. So was the approach different, or did you prepare in the similar manner? Rishi has not spoken for some time. Rishi?
So my approach was similar to boards. I was considering prelim paper to be as important as boards because that creates a sense of pressure and the preparation is more directed to in a board manner. If I consider prelims as important as board exams.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that considering them to be at a level which is at par with board exams is really important.
Yeah, perhaps if you take your prelims more seriously, your board exam becomes easy. So
yeah, definitely. Board exams are much easier than prelims generally. So
yeah,
they should be taken very seriously.
Yeah.
Okay, Sanjay, I think we can close the Q&A round now. We are reaching towards the 3 p.m. cutoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So friends, I would also like to inform you all that Shagun's parents, Amit and Seema, they are co-founders of a edutech startup. They provide online and coaching, etc. So Amit, can you speak for a moment on your venture?
Thank you, Sanjay ji, for giving the opportunity. But before that, I would like to thank Gitanjali for organizing this event, which as a idea is to help other students, but I think it will help Shagun also to an extent where she can actually refresh her strategies that helped her in grade 10th. And I, as a parent, is really getting benefited by the thoughts of Anusha and Rishi in terms of hearing them and learning from them. And obviously from Anshul, who is so eloquently comprehending and summarizing what the students are saying or the mentors are saying in such a brilliant fashion as always. And I also got to hear from Anshul that he's also a bit of nervous, which makes me feel better that he's able to handle that so well, even in front of so many audience on the stage when we had the Gitanjali annual event. So thanks for sharing that, Anshul. Yeah, just to put it briefly, we started this venture 2 years back, which is primarily for live online classes for kids from 3 to 18 years, where we provide academic and extracurricular classes by teachers who are selected all over India on a very rigorous basis. All the teachers on the platform are female teachers, and they take one-on-one classes or they take small group classes across academic, math, science, etc., including non-academic, which means music and other topics of interest. So that's a bit about ourselves. So we don't not only connect with the excellent teachers, but as a parent, we understand what the parent expectations are in terms of the learning journey. So we monitor the class quality through the entire learning process, and that is where we add value. So we have students from 10 plus countries now, and with a high renewal rate of 96%. That's brief from my. Thanks a lot, Sanjay ji, for giving the opportunity.
Thank you, Amit. So I would like to request Nishu to kindly give a vote of thanks on behalf of the parents.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. So, hi. Thank you so much, Gitanjali family, for taking this initiative for our youngsters, our budding future stars. And I'm sure they are going to benefit a lot from this mentorship program. Thank you, Rishi, Anusha, and Shagun for your insights, your tips. I'm sure all the juniors are going to really find it helpful. And thank you for all the parents and the students who attended this program, which actually makes it such a success. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and Devanshi, can you vote on behalf of the students or the kids?
Firstly, I would like to thank the management committee of Gitanjali Express for organizing this session. And I would also like to give a hearty thanks to Anusha, Rishi, and Shagun for their precious time. Thank you for your illuminating words and the guidance, which will help all the young minds of today to bring about the best in our lives. Also, thank you for sharing your experiences and learnings that will help us to make better decisions about our career. Once again, a big thank you on the behalf of all the children present today.
Okay.
Wow. Thank you so much, Devanshi. Thank you everyone for attending the event, and hopefully we'll have more interesting sessions for the students. Raviji?
Just a minute before that, I would like to type in the numbers of our stars and that of Amiji, who's the co-founder of Classbug, so that in case the children want to reach out to them, they could reach out to Anusha, Shagun, and Rishi. My only request is all these three are still studying. They have their active study schedules, etc. So they may not be able to, let's say, respond to you immediately, or they may not be able to talk to you for long hours. But they'll certainly, I've got assurance from all of them that they'll certainly get back to you, provide you counseling, guidance in whatever manner they can do best. So the number of the all the three stars is there, as well as that of Classbug co-founder Amit Goyal. Raviji?
That's all. Thank you so much for such a great session. I really enjoyed it. Lot of learning.
Thank you everybody for taking your time to join the show. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.